Welcome, and thank you for joining Chamberlain University's Mastermind session. My name is Peggy Guillory, and I'm the Regional Manager with Chamberlain's Workforce Solutions team. It is my privilege to moderate today's topic, a national call to action for nursing faculty recognition. Our panelists will be discussing how meaningful recognition of nurse faculty will help sustain faculty's commitment to teaching our next generation of nurses. Today, I am honored to have joining me a distinguished group of experts that have an ongoing impact on the meaningful recognition of nurses around the world. So I'd like to first introduce Bonnie Burns, co-founder and CEO of the Daisy Foundation. Bonnie and her husband, Mark, started Daisy to honor nurses in memory of the extraordinary care given to Mark's son prior to his passing in 1999. We also have Dr. Cynthia Sweeney, who is the Vice President of Nursing at the Daisy Foundation. Dr. Sweeney is engaged in program development, providing the nursing view for the Daisy Foundation programs. We also have Dr. Danica Bowen, the Senior Director of Higher Education and Global Partnerships for Chamberlain University. Dr. Bowen has served in a number of academic positions, including accreditation, regulatory, and Chief Academic Officer roles over the past 25 years in higher education. And finally, but not least, we have Dr. Odessa Williams, who is Associate Dean of Faculty for Chamberlain University. She is dedicated to improving faculty development, student academic outcomes, and student and faculty engagement. And Dr. Williams won the Daisy Faculty Award in 2018. She was also awarded the Faculty Excellent Award the same year. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Bonnie, I'd like to start with you. I know that Daisy Foundation honors nurses for their compassionate care in literally thousands of healthcare facilities around the world. Can you tell us about how the award came to fruition?
Well, sure, Peggy. Thank you so much for having us. You addressed this briefly when you introduced me. It was in 1999 that my stepson, Patrick, developed some peculiar symptoms one morning. Now, he wasn't a little kid. He was 33 years old. Mm-hmm. He and his wife, Tina, had just given us our first grandchild 6 weeks before this morning when he woke up with these blood blisters in his mouth. And was very quickly admitted to the hospital with a diagnosis of ITP, an autoimmune disease. Well, when Mark and I heard that Pat had gone into the hospital, we flew to Texas where they lived to be with them, thinking we could just get a few more days with our new granddaughter, and Patrick would get out of the hospital pretty quickly from this thing we had never heard of. Well, as you mentioned, he was in the hospital for 8 weeks, and we were very fortunate to be able to spend those weeks with him in the hospital, and for the first time got a chance to see what nurses really do every day. We had never experienced this before. And when Patrick died, we felt compelled to say thank you. We had to find a way to express our gratitude, not only for the tremendous clinical expertise we saw brought to Pat's very complex condition, but especially for the little things that his nurses did for him and for us that made a huge difference in our experience when Patrick was so ill. And so we created the Daisy Foundation, and Daisy is an acronym for Diseases in the Immune System, since Patrick had one of those. And we created the Daisy Award for Extraordinary Nurses as a way of providing ongoing recognition for extraordinary compassionate care. Never in our wildest dreams when we kicked this program off at the end of 1999 did we think that today there would be over 4,500 healthcare facilities and schools of nursing committed to honoring nurses month in and month out with the Daisy Award. Never in our dreams.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's such a gift that you all have given, not just to the nursing community, but to the patients and family members as well, and such a testament to the work that you have all done. I'm sure you never imagined it would be like to grow like this 20 years later. So how many awards have been given out to date?
Well, among those over 4,500 healthcare facilities and schools, over 144,000 nurses have been honored so far, not only in all 50 states, but also in 28 other countries. So another thing we never imagined when we started this off is that Daisy would become an international nurse recognition program. But the number that means the most to us is the fact that more than 1.8 million times a patient or a family member or a coworker or student have taken the time to write their story of the impact a nurse has had on their lives. So we know with more than 1.8 million nominations having been written, we are not the only folks who need to say thank you to nurses.
Yeah. And I know that the award began with recognizing the work at the bedside, but how did you decide to bring the Daisy Award to the academic setting?
Oh, that's really one of those wonderful moments in Daisy history I'm happy to share with you. It was in 2010. We have our board of directors meet in our dining room here in our home, and we were all sitting around the table talking about various things going on in the world of nursing. And one of our board members at the time was a dean of nursing in Ohio. And she looked at Mark and me and she said, you know, someone had to teach those nurses who took such good care of your son. Well, this was an epiphany for Mark and me. We had never thought about it. But the other board members, who most of whom were chief nursing officers, leapt at the opportunity to give us a pretty in-depth education on who faculty members are, what they do, how hard this work is, and of course, how critically important it is. And we knew then that we needed to expand the Daisy Award to recognize nursing faculty. Well, I have to tell you that it was a little slow go in the early years after 2010 because it seemed like academic institutions honored faculty for research and presentations and publications, but not so much for the inspiration that Daisy wanted to celebrate among faculty members, the inspiration that they provided to students that really helped to mold great nurses of the future. And so we, kind of grew the program very slowly, but Mark and I persisted, and we would go out and visit schools of nursing and hospitals to share the Daisy Award and share our story with them. And we were at a school of nursing some years back, and I'll never forget this moment. A faculty member came over to us and explained what it felt like to her when she was announced that she was that year's Daisy faculty honoree. The whole student body stood up in recognition of her and applauded. And she said to us, that recognition bought me 5 more years of teaching. Mark and I knew we had to keep being persistent and we had to keep driving the Daisy Faculty Award. We approached the American Association of Colleges of Nursing and asked them if they would stand with us for a call to action for faculty recognition. And indeed they did. And we have had just a tremendous outcome as a result. And in fact, are getting ready to issue that call to action again, this time with AACN, with NLN, the National League of Nursing, as well as the Organization of Associate Degree Nursing. So we're really excited to see the Faculty Award and our award for students expanding in nursing schools around the country.
And how many schools of nursing are you currently partnering with?
There are over 340 of them now and counting.
Yes, and counting for sure. Now, and I appreciate you sharing that story. I know I've heard oftentimes nurses talking about having that faculty member, that one faculty member buzzing in their ear about, don't forget this, don't forget that. And I mean, 20, 30 years later, they still remember exactly who they are. So
they often say to us, it's not necessarily their favorite professor or instructor, but it's the person who's in their ear for their entire careers. You're so right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's actually a perfect segue to one of our other panelists. We actually have a faculty member, a faculty honoree, Dr. Williams. Could you share with us your story on how you felt to be nominated and then to receive the Daisy Award?
Sure. Thank you, Peggy.
Yeah.
I've been nominated for the Daisy Faculty Award a couple times before. However, receiving the Daisy Faculty Award solidified the extraordinary work that I had done over the years. The recognition was confirmation that I made a significant difference in my students' nursing journey and their lives. The Daisy Award allowed me to become an exemplary of an extraordinary nursing faculty member for other extraordinary nursing faculty to continue the outstanding work that we do for our nursing students. Whether we are teaching in the classroom or in the clinical setting, we are still nurses first and foremost. As such, it is vital that we instill the qualities of an extraordinary nurse in our nursing students to provide safe and quality nursing care the population in their care and the community. I would like to share some of the comments that some students made for me over the years.
Yes, please do.
Professor Williams is a caring, kind, respectful, and honest person. She has all the characteristics needed of an outstanding nurse that goes above and beyond. Professor Williams is just extremely dedicated and excited for her students' success and understanding. Professor Williams encouraged me to seek help from her, tutors, and ATI modules when I was struggling. She helped put me in a positive and motivated mindset so that I wasn't afraid of class. Professor Williams was always great with explaining topics in maternal nursing that were difficult to grasp. She met with me multiple times outside of class time when I was struggling to understand, and she really broke the material down. She helped me overcome my anxiety and fears from class based on my previous experience at another institution. I did not score so well on my second quiz in maternal child, so I emailed Professor Williams to set up an appointment to talk about what went wrong and how I could improve. Following the meeting, Professor Williams said that she knew I was a hardworking student and that I had what it took to be successful in the course. We went over different study methods of positive thinking, and how I could let go of the anxiety of my past. I told Professor Williams that I was traumatized by a previous maternal health course at another institution. She understood my fears and told me that she and the CAS were here for me and to never let my past keep me from moving forward. Her words of encouragement and support will always be with me. Professor Williams kept the class interactive and wanted all her students to participate through contributing to the lecture, asking questions, and answering questions as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
I love my
and it shows. I really appreciate you sharing that. Such an inspiring story. And I love how you connected how the faculty ensure how their students become the best that it can be, or as Chamberlain and Daisy Foundation say so many times, to be that extraordinary nurse. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for all that you do. Because as Bonnie mentioned, we need every single one of you right now and to be extraordinary and help those students become their extraordinary. So thank you.
And we love what we do.
Yeah. And again, it shows. Thank you. So we've talked about the history of the Daisy Award, and we've heard from an extraordinary honoree. Dr. Sweeney, can you and Dr. Bowen tell us about the research that that you're doing on faculty right now?
I think I'd love to give the big perspective on where we've come from with this journey. I think that we're all inspired, those of us who are nurses especially, we're inspired by those first instructors. And I have to tell you, my first instructor that carries in my head, I loved her and I still stay in touch with her. So I think those voices that we hear, we're not really going crazy, we're just correcting our practice. So yeah. I remember her always saying, would you like to explain your rationale? And I knew I screwed up as soon as she said that. So, but before I go into the sort of the big picture that brought us here, I'd love to have Dr. Bowen share Chamberlain's history, because that's a significant part of the Daisy history and this journey into academia.
Oh, thank you. And we're so very, very proud of it. So Chamberlain's been working with the Daisy Foundation since 2012, and we've been awarding faculty recognition since 2015. And we're just incredibly proud to serve as an exclusive educational partner to the Daisy Foundation. And I can't even put words to the impact. So I know we're here to talk a little bit about some of the different studies and elements of it. We've been doing preliminary research since 2015 when it rolled out. So we added additional questions to our engagement survey and looked at and noticed, and it was very clear, the impact of that faculty recognition within Chamberlain University. So yes, we've been working with the Daisy Foundation closely, and we're just so proud of the path that we've taken and the direction that we're going in the future.
Thank you for that. So when we started thinking about moving into the academic space with this, the motivators were what we were hearing anecdotally in the environment. And we know how important it is from the Daisy perspective that compassionate care be front and foremost. And how do we do that? How do we make sure that we have those folks teaching compassionate care? How do we have those role models if we don't retain them and acknowledge the care that they give, not only as role models in patient care, patient and family care, but also as role models in caring for their students? So again, anecdotally, things that Bonnie and Mark were picking up out in the field, things I was seeing, because by this time I was a student myself working on my doctorate and seeing some of the signs of what we call burnout in my own faculty. And my heart went out to them, because we know that faculty enjoy what they do. I personally taught for a few years and I loved it. It was the best job ever. So anything I've ever really enjoyed always had an element of teaching in it. So again, if we want to preserve our profession, we have an obligation to make sure we retain the best, and especially the best where they bring the art and science of nursing together. Mm-hmm. So what we knew out in the clinical spaces, in the research, both quantitative and qualitative, is that meaningful recognition makes a difference. It makes a difference in how we manage and mitigate compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is made up of secondary traumatic stress and burnout. And those who are nurses know, and everybody in life, we always have some level of compassion fatigue. We can't get rid of it no matter how hard we try. But what we have to do is we have to balance it out. And you do that with compassion satisfaction. Compassion satisfaction, those are those happy moments, those moments when you take great satisfaction, whether in the instance of faculty, you've helped that student to achieve their best, or in the case of a nurse, where you're holding that newborn baby that a couple have struggled for years to have, and now here's their reward. So you have those moments that help to balance that. So we really wanted to think about how we bring that into the academic setting. And if we have a hypothesis that what works in the clinical setting would also work in the academic, it was a no-brainer. So Doctors Lufton and Kelly back in 2015 did, the original study was based in one hospital system, but it was so profound, they contacted Daisy and said, we have this information and this is wonderful stuff. And by the way, we use Daisy as a proxy to measure and look at meaningful recognition. And we found that there was some significant impact in our system. So that study was moved forward to not only do a system, but to look across 24 different organizations nationwide. And that population was made up of over 1,000 ICU nurses from these 24 organizations, some that had Daisy and some that did not. And the nurses were looked at as an aggregate. And what were the factors that mitigated their compassion fatigue and enhanced their compassion satisfaction? And the way that study, the inventory that was used in that study was the professional quality of life, which STAM developed and is well documented in to look at compassion fatigue and compassion satisfaction in caregivers. So whether you're a firefighter or a police officer or a doctor or a nurse, but those professions that provide care is what it looks at. So well documented, decided that might be the tool to use to bring into the academic space. And so with that, we are basically translating what we know in the clinical to the academic environment. And we know that healthy work environments are important no matter where you practice. So with that, we also know that in a healthy work environment, meaningful recognition is one of 6 critical components. So if we don't have that component in there, the whole piece of a healthy work environment begins to fall apart, because all 6 need to be there. So based on those premises is and the history we had with Chamberlain, where we realized that meaningful recognition was important to faculty. So it wasn't about only tenure, it wasn't only about salary increases, but it was also about this meaningful recognition being fed back where you made a difference in someone's life, that we started on this journey. And so Chamberlain is joining us in this next iteration. We have 2 other universities that are going to be working with us. One is the University of South Florida, and the other is the University of Arizona. And we are essentially going to take the protocols, translate it, and see what we find in the academic setting, if it's similar to what we see in the clinical setting. And if that's true, then what we'll find is that, and again, Daisy as a measure, is that if you receive a Daisy award, mitigate your compassion fatigue. But if you receive a Daisy nomination, guess what? That also mitigates your compassion fatigue. And wait for it. And if you attend a Daisy celebration, it can mitigate your compassion fatigue. So I think that there is an awful lot of evidence out there that we're corralling for our review of the literature, as well as our anecdotal experiences. Just last week, I was on a call with a group of faculty from across the country, and we were sharing some of the DAISY stories that we've collected. And one story in particular, as I read it, one of the faculty on the call started to tear up and said, I feel like I'm getting chills just listening, because I can only imagine what that faculty member must have thought when they heard those words. And some of the words that came out of that, as I recall, the faculty member was likened to Professor Dumbledore out of Harry Potter, that this professor was very magical, that this professor indeed believed that good lies in everyone and that everyone deserves a second chance, and that through love, you will always find a way. So if you could imagine hearing those words echoed back to you, just the power that has to make you stay one more day. And one more day means one more day in our profession. And so with that, I think we're all really highly motivated to see this positive impact be grounded in the literature.
Wow, that is so exciting. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I also think there's power in the trio of schools looking at this as well. I think that's going to be incredibly powerful. I don't know how I follow that without tearing up of what you said. But no, I think in looking at this longitudinal study and the elements composed as a part of it, our survey is going out in the fall, and we should have the manuscript ready in summer of 2021. And to one of your earlier points about compassion fatigue and looking at the impact of meaningful faculty recognition, given the world events and everything that's going on today, I can't even imagine a more poignant time for us to be studying this and looking at how we can continue to meet the needs of the nurses that are really on the front line.
Mm-hmm. I think having more and more role models of compassion that not only exist in the School of Nursing, but then are able to go out into the communities. And again, I think the ripple effect of these wonderfully positive stories can only add to the goblet of happiness and positivity that we really need to fill these days, given the current environment we're all living in.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's so exciting. I cannot wait for this research to come out and continued research, because I think it's just going to grow.
And if I can add one more thing, if anyone is interested, we have the three organizations, and we're all kind of leaving the train station at a little bit different times, but running the same protocols, that we invite anyone that is interested in being a part of this. We certainly will share what we know. And of course, the more the merrier, and the better the evidence when we can, test it out in multiple environments in different schools.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Very exciting. So I did want to ask one more question. And while it's not directly related to the DAISY Award and faculty recognition, Bonnie, I read your letter entitled Addressing Racism. And as you know, it's vitally important to us at Chamberlain that what you're doing and the work that you're doing. Can you share with us how you're addressing racism in the DAISY context?
Oh, sure, Peggy. This is, I think, going to be a forever process for us and for everyone. But where we are looking at this is we are listening, we are learning, and we are preparing to act. And I believe that our action is going to come in the form of grants given to nurses who are conducting research or evidence-based practice projects or implementing programs that address families and patients with any condition, but that are affected by social determinants of health. And it's our belief that nurses are a tremendous key in the community to making a difference for people who really need to not go one more day without access to excellent health care. And we want very much to support the nursing profession and its drive to make it better for people who've been underserved for way too long.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's such an important issue, and not only in our own communities, but in the healthcare systems. And I agree, as much light as we can shine on these important issues and topics, we can make the world a better place. So I appreciate that, and looking forward to the work that you guys are going to be doing. So as we close, I wanted to thank each of you and give you an opportunity maybe to have a moment to finish off some thoughts, if you might. Bonnie, did you have anything else that you want to share with the group before we leave?
Well, I would just like to say how important it is to us at the Daisy Foundation to expand meaningful recognition among nursing faculty for all the things we've been talking about, but especially at this time when we know recognition makes a difference. As we say here, the time for meaningful recognition is always. So I would encourage anyone who's listening who wants more information about how to bring the Daisy Faculty Award or our award for students to nursing, please reach out to us. There's lots of information on our website, daisyfoundation.org. Contact me directly, whatever it takes. We really would love to partner with every school of nursing in the country.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Dr. Sweeney, did you have any final thoughts?
Well, I think as I reflect back, something that's really very important to me as a nurse and as a nursing student was the realization that nursing is an art and a science. And I think in recent years, we get so caught up in technology, we get into the science and proving ourselves as scientists, that sometimes we leave the art of nursing at the starting gate. I think now more than ever, we've realized as communities that the art of the delivery of care is as important as the care. So we see those pictures, whether it's using FaceTime to connect a family to their patient, or whether it's connecting to each other. But I think that all of us need to understand that meaningful recognition is imperative. It is an absolute imperative to feedback the things that we value and the things that we want to see replicated. So I always say we elevate and celebrate the things that we value.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Bowen, did you have any final thoughts?
I would add that it's an honor and a privilege for Chamberlain University to be associated with Daisy Foundation.
Great.
I think that the secondary part of it is that I'm personally thrilled. I mean, I will admit a bit of a data dork, but I am absolutely thrilled to be looking at this data in such an important time for us to be doing so and looking at the impact faculty recognition. And so I think that the future is very bright in this. And to the point that was made earlier, I do encourage people to reach out because this is absolutely worth the time and energy and has made a tremendous difference at Chamberlain University.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes a village. And finally, Dr. Williams, did you have any final thoughts you wanted to share?
Well, it's something that I typically tell my nursing students. So to our future nurses, continue to work hard and thrive for the ultimate goal of passing NCLEX and becoming an extraordinary nurse. Always remember to be the quality and safe nurse you want caring for you and your loved ones.
Absolutely.
That's all. It takes a village.
Yes, it does take a village, and I love those thoughts. It's perfect ending. So I'd like to thank each of you on the panel for taking the time to share your stories and your expertise on such an important topic. And I think we can all agree now more than ever that we need to continue the discussion on how meaningful recognition of nursing faculty will help sustain faculty's commitment to teaching our next generation of nurses. So with the national call to action for nursing faculty recognition, I think we're taking great strides right now to make that a reality. So our guests will be available in the chat features, and we encourage you to share your stories and ask any questions that may have come up during the session. And then also keep in mind that we will be having another mastermind session next Wednesday. And the topic next week will be rethinking strategies during COVID and beyond. So thank you so much for joining us, and please stay healthy and safe.